First, let's lay the groundwork. For decades, national reserves have been dominated by traditional assets like gold, foreign currency, and government bonds. But as Bitcoin grows in popularity and legitimacy, some nations are beginning to ask the question, could Bitcoin be part of their reserve strategy? National reserves are typically assets held by a government to back its currency, provide stability, and support economic policies. Historically, central banks have held a significant portion of their reserves in US dollars, gold, and more recently, a diversified basket of assets. Bitcoin, however, introduces a new dynamic due to its decentralized nature, finite supply, and resistance to inflationary pressures. Over the last few years, Bitcoin has grown from a fringe speculative asset to a legitimate store of value. Countries like El Salvador made headlines by making Bitcoin legal tender in 2021. But the idea of holding Bitcoin as part of a national reserve is still in its infancy. El Salvador's Bitcoin holdings remain a small part of its national reserves, but it has sparked a conversation that many other countries are closely watching. We've also seen rumors and reports that countries like Russia and Ukraine have looked into holding Bitcoin reserves. In fact, some nations are considering Bitcoin as a hedge against the dominance of the US dollar and other traditional financial systems, especially amid rising global uncertainty and inflation. Now, let's look at the bigger geopolitical picture. The introduction of Bitcoin into national reserves could reshape the balance of power between nations. Traditional financial institutions like the International Monetary Fund (IMF) and World Bank have historically had immense control over global economic policies. But Bitcoin challenges that status quo. Countries that embrace Bitcoin could potentially bypass certain economic sanctions and barriers imposed by traditional financial systems. For instance, countries like Iran and Venezuela, who face heavy sanctions, may find Bitcoin as a way to circumvent these restrictions and maintain financial sovereignty. On the flip side, countries with major economic power, like the US or China, may look at Bitcoin's growing influence and consider ways to either co-opt or suppress it. The US government has already signaled that they are looking at how to regulate cryptocurrencies, and it's likely they will want to ensure that Bitcoin doesn't undermine the dollar's dominance as the world's primary reserve currency. Let's explore the benefits first. For countries with volatile currencies or those suffering from inflation, Bitcoin could offer a hedge against economic instability. Countries in hyperinflationary environments like Zimbabwe or see you in the next video.